11th episode of A Year of Career, 52 Practical Answers to Your Questions. I'm Erin Wolfer, and I own and operate Career Advantage and Career Advantage Golf, where I help job seekers all over the world feel more confident and prepared throughout their job search by helping them with resumes, cover letters, LinkedIn profiles, mock interviews, anything job search related. Each week in this podcast, I answer one question from the public, and this week's question is, what questions should I ask at the end of an interview when given the opportunity? So first, I want to say you absolutely want to ask questions at the end of an interview. So you certainly want to be prepared for that. So we'll talk today about what you can do to prepare and have a nice list of questions ready so you can ask those at the end when most likely you'll be asked, what questions do you have for us? So first, when you have an interview, you want to do your research. So remember that when you have an interview, they of course are interviewing you, evaluating you, but you are also interviewing them and evaluating the organization to see if it's going to be a good fit for you. You want to make informed decisions when accepting and rejecting job offers, and doing your research and asking the right questions can certainly help you make those informed decisions. So, like I said, you want to do your research. The first thing that I would do is make sure that you have thoroughly read the job description, which I'm sure you probably have because you've already submitted your application, but read through it again and really pay close attention to the information related to their mission statement, their values, those sorts of things, and make sure that those align with your values. You also want to look at the organization's website, of course. So thoroughly look through all of the pages, try to find out, again, information about their mission, vision, and values if you didn't already find that within the job description. You also look to see if they are involved in the community or if they do any volunteer work or if they have family fun nights, things like that. Those are all things that can give you some information to help you evaluate the organization's culture and environment. Another thing that you want to do is if you know anyone who works at the organization or has worked at the organization in the past, don't be afraid to reach out to them and see if you can have coffee or hop on a phone call or a Zoom meeting so you can ask some questions about the environment, about the culture, about the people that you'll be working with, about the person who will be supervising you. Those are all really important things that are going to help you decide if that organization and that position really is a good fit for you. So if you can talk to anybody who has that insider information, you always want to do that. So you may not know someone who works within the organization or has in the past, but it's quite possible that someone in your network does. So don't hesitate to reach out to people in your network and see if they know of anyone who currently works at the organization or has worked at the organization in the past. And if they do, see if they can introduce you and make that connection. And then you can reach out and ask some of those important questions prior to your interview. If nobody in your sort of immediate network knows anybody, you could even utilize LinkedIn to find some folks who worked for that company in the past or currently do, and see if they would be willing to have a brief meeting with you so you could ask some questions. So all of this research is of course going to help you start that evaluation process, but it's also going to help you start developing questions that you can ask at the end of the interview. So first, I just want to mention before I forget, you want to avoid questions related to salary, benefits, vacation time, things like that. It's really best to keep those types of questions until after you're given a job offer or you're well into the interview process. Like it's, the absolute final stages. If you start talking about salary, benefits, and vacation early on, they're going to think that that's really the only thing that you care about and that's what's most important to you. And I mean, even if that's true, you don't want to give off that impression during your interview. So try to avoid questions related to those topics. Instead, you want to ask questions that really are going to help you further evaluate the environment, the culture, that sort of information that's going to help you decide if the organization is a good fit for you. I've mentioned fit several times, and that is so important. And, to be honest, you can do all of this research, you can ask all of the right questions, and it's quite possible that you think that you are making a great decision based on the information that you've gathered. And then once you get into an organization, you find that it is not a good fit for you. And I've been in that situation, and it's not fun. But the more that you can do, the more likely you are going to make a good decision that you're going to be happy with, and you're going to be able to stay there, for a long time and really have a good experience. So the questions that you want to ask, like I said, should help you evaluate the organization, especially the company's culture and environment. So things that you want to ask are, ask the people who are in the interview what they enjoy most about working there. Ask things like, what do you think will be the most challenging aspect of the position if I'm the person chosen to fill this position? Ask them, how long they've worked there, and if they have, any special events or activities that the company puts on annually that they really enjoy. You also want to try to prove that you've done your research. So what I mean by that is if you found an interesting article online about something recently that they have done that was in the news that was really positive, you could bring that up in your interview and ask more about that. So reference the article that you read and say that you found it very inspiring or very interesting, and ask some questions related to that particular project or article. If you know, for example, that they are in the process of completing a capital improvement project, you could ask about, what the next phase is and what they'll be doing here in the near future that you would be involved in if you are selected to fill this position. So you're really trying to ask questions about things that you cannot find answers to on the internet. You cannot find answers to within the job description. So you also want to avoid asking questions about like, oh, what would I be doing in this position? You should already have a pretty good idea of that from the job description, but you could ask something like, what does a typical day look like for someone in this position? For a lot of positions, there's no such thing as a typical day, but people can still give you an idea of kind of what your days may look like at different points within the year. Another thing that is nice to ask about is professional development and training. So you could mention that you've been very involved in a particular organization, and you could ask if that's something that they support, if they support professional development and involvement in professional organizations. Like I said earlier, you could ask about training. So what does the training look like for the first couple of weeks for the person who is selected for this position? So to kind of recap, what you want to do is do as much research as you can in advance to learn as much as you can about the organization so you can develop some questions that prove that you have done your research, and also develop questions that help you better understand the company culture and environment so you can make informed decisions and hopefully decide whether or not you want to accept the position and ultimately make the right decision that's going to be the best for you and your current situation. So that's all that I have for you today. If you have more information, or if you would like more information on Career Advantage, you can always visit the website careeradvantageresumes.com or careeradvantagegolf.com. You can also follow me on social media. I'm on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram at Career Advantage Resumes, and on Twitter at Advantage Career. So thank you so much for listening today. I hope you all have a great rest of your week and see you next time. Thanks.